Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Crosstalk. I am your host, Kat Lee. As always, we have our intrepid producer here, Elizabeth Holdhouse. Hello, Elizabeth. She says hello. She's muted. Just she loves you. We are here today with Isabel Maggie. Do you want me to include the right? Isabel is
Nah.
nah, just Isabel Maggie?
Yeah.
Okay, I like it. Short to the point. Good. Isabel's coming to us all the way from Southwest Florida, which is where I would love to be right now. But God hasn't put me there yet. So, Bloom, where you planted, right? Anyway, um, yeah, Isabel, how you doing?
I'm doing good. And actually, I don't know if you'd want to be here. It's like 90 today and little too hot.
Nope, I'm all for it. I'm here for
All
it.
for it. Okay. I love it.
I only really go for the AC like at about 95. Unless
Wow.
the humidity's up there. I am so cold-blooded, hence the sweater in June. I get cold so easily. And when I get cold, I get cranky and nobody likes me. So I just stay warm. So my husband and I lived in central Ohio, Columbus, Ohio, for the first 10 or so years that we were married and grew up in Northeast Ohio. So when we were thinking of moving, we're like, well, let's go someplace warmer, right? Let's look in the South. So yeah, of course, God moved us to Connecticut because he just has such a sense of humor.
He does too. I love it.
I can't say it hasn't worked out great. Yeah, but it just goes to show you just don't know what God's going to do. His ways are not our ways. They're always better.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen in the sometimes best way. Maybe not in the moment, feels like it, but
Yeah. No, I think in the moment I was like, what? Where? Why? Why? Lord, why? 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 Really? Why?
well, yeah.
We're here. All you can do is obey, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So let me just start by asking this question. I ask this of all my guests. Sometimes it takes us a while to get to it, but other times we just jump right into it. Tell me what God was doing in your life, how you got involved in worship ministry.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want the long story or the short story?
Oh, honey, we got time. Go for the long story. Always the long story.
All right. Well, I grew up singing always. My parents both sing and play instruments, trumpet and tuba, and I joined the band and played trombone. And my sister played the trumpet, and we would do quartets singing and quartets with our instruments at church. And so I was always singing, but when I was going through middle school and high school, I really was into sports, and so I thought soccer might be a really cool avenue to go. And I played goalkeeper. I loved it. It was like my whole personality was that I was a soccer player. And music, I still did music. I was on our worship team once I joined high school, and so I still was in music, but that was definitely not the goal. And then I saw a Broadway musical, Wicked, in
Okay.
2017, and it changed my mind. I was like, as soon as I saw it, I was like, I have to use my voice and be Glinda. Glinda was my goal character, and so I decided to start. I still did soccer, and I still loved it, and it was still most of my personality. But I joined community theater and my school's theater, and decided that Broadway was what I wanted to do as like a lifetime goal. And so I auditioned to AMDA, which is American Musical and Dramatic Academy, which is a New York conservatory. And in 2019, fall of 2019 was my senior year, and I got in, and they have a 20% acceptance rate. And so
Wow.
I was thrilled. I lived in Michigan at the time, and then 2020 hit, and obviously everything stopped. and they weren't sure. They didn't have a spring semester and they didn't have a summer semester. And so they were still trying to figure out, are we taking incoming freshmen? What are we going to do? And they ended up starting later in October, but they still were going to take in students and let you move to New York. And so they had a quarantine rule for any states other than the tri-state area, which Michigan's not. And
Right.
so what the rule was is if you visit New York, you have to be in and out within 24 hours, or you can quarantine for 14 days.
Hmm.
And so, my October of 2020, I got diagnosed with Crohn's disease October 6th, and I moved to New York October 18th.
Wow.
And it was crazy. My whole life I've had stomach problems and here and there, and met with doctors and it just never turned into anything. And in October, they diagnosed with biopsy that it was Crohn's disease, and the doctor was like, if you feel up to going to AMDA and like going, we can do your meds online. Like you can learn how to self inject them because most Crohn's treatment is a biologic, which is through your tissue in liquid. Yeah. And so they were like, if you feel up to it though, like we can figure it out. I guarantee we can do Zoom doctor appointments, see how you feel, because after you get diagnosed, there's nothing really that they feel anymore or know,
Hmm.
um, other than more looks at it. And so so they were like, go if you feel up to it. And I was like, I'm going. And there was like few bad days, but we told like AMDA and they were cool with it. They were like, you have an autoimmune, whatever you need to do, obviously.
Hmm.
And so I went and I quarantined for 14 days by myself in this teeny tiny little dorm room. Like seriously, this it was about the size of this room that I'm in right now, and with a bed and everything. And in the 2 weeks of quarantine, I am a huge family person. And so my family means the whole world to me. And that was the first time that I was gone from them for an extended amount of time. And so it was like really like almost like a shock for me of like, I'm actually dropped off right now in New York City, like alone. And obviously they can FaceTime and but they had to leave they couldn't even like stay in a hotel near and just stay for a couple days. No, they had to leave. And
Wow.
so they went to Michigan, my mom, sister, and dad. And I stayed in my dorm room, and I have always played ukulele since freshman year of high school. And so I took my little ukulele. Good thing, because I didn't have room for a guitar. No, but I took my ukulele and I remember strumming on it. And I was like, if I sing right now, I'm just gonna start crying because I miss singing with them, and
Yeah.
just like in the fields. And so I was just strumming on my ukulele. That's all. I was just sitting there, and I hummed a melody, and I was like, you know what? I don't think I've ever heard that melody before. And I was like, that could be me. Like, what better do I have to do? I'm all alone, so might as well put it in my videos. And so I videoed the idea, and that was my first full song in the dorm room. And I had always written poems. I'm like a pretty creative writer growing up, but I never actually put a melody to any of the words or
Hmm.
like write down any melodies. And so then I was like, that was really kind of fun. And so I wrote a couple more songs before quarantine ended, and then was the start of classes. And since it was a conservatory, you have all these classes shoved into this little time. And so I
Hmm.
had 11 classes.
Oh, wow.
And one of those was an extracurricular of songwriting. And so I got to learn more about songwriting while pursuing like acting and musical theater 101 and acting 101,
Yeah.
and so I was having a great time. It was amazing. And then I remember one night I called my mom and I was like, I don't feel like I can like step on my legs right now. It's like they hurt really bad. And
Mm,
we were like, yeah, something's wrong. And so we were like, should I come home? You know what? And so we decided the next day, I woke up and I was like, I'm totally fine. It's as if nothing happened. Like, I feel great. And like, I'm going to do my dance class today, two of them back to back, and then a third one earlier in the day. And
mm,
I did all of them fine. It was great. And so we were like, what in the world? And so we were just like, oh, okay, rolling with the punches and just kind of
yeah.
see how it goes. And then in December, I had a couple more days like that. And so when I came home, I was actually 17 when I got just 18 when I got diagnosed with Crohn's. And so I
Hmm.
saw my pediatric doctor when I came home because and she said usually when you have one autoimmune, you have a second.
Yeah.
And that was arthritis.
Ah.
And so but it's inflammatory arthritis, not rheumatoid. So it's not an autoimmune itself. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
really, yeah, interesting. And so I went back in January after winter break and I was like, I'm so excited. I love being here. And they sent out a notification to everybody and we're like, hey, we've gotten some um, you know, uh emails that people didn't this wasn't what they expected coming to New York because New York was still completely pretty much closed down. I mean,
Yeah.
I went to Times Square and there was like five people there. And every other time we went to New York as a family, it was like not five people there.
Right.
And there was no Broadway shows. So like it was truly a different experience.
Hmm.
But they sent out the email and they were like, we've gotten some of this. So if you want to change your classes and go completely online, we'll change everything to online because they already had some online students.
Hmm.
Um, for people that couldn't get to the States in order to do it. And so they were like, if you want to switch to that, we're willing to switch everything over. And I was like, I don't want to switch to that. However, if I need to figure out this arthritis thing before it gets out
Hmm.
of hand,
Yeah.
maybe I do need to go home where my doctors are and hello, kitty.
I have
Aw.
both of them on me right now. Did you see the black one too?
Oh, I think I did see the little earrings. Aw, so cute.
We were talking right before we started. My last interview, this one didn't show up. Hammy usually shows up, and Ozzy was just asleep on the other couch. And now, I said, I don't know if I'll see both either of them tonight. And right off the bat, yep. So yeah, Hammy, say hi. Yeah, yeah, he's saying.
Aw.
And Ozzy's right
Hi,
here in my
Hammy.
lap. Oh my gosh. So didn't mean to interrupt, but
No,
Hammy's rude
I
like
interrupted.
that. Hammy's rude like that. So you made the decision to go online
I
and
did. Yep. And yep. So I went online. I moved back to Michigan, moved into my parents' house, and um, finished out the semester online. And prior to December, my dad has always wanted to move to Florida. And so they started talking about moving to Florida because he got a job offer. And they were talking about that, I think, as I was moving to New York. I can't quite remember, but I remember them saying, hey, Isabel, we were thinking of moving to Florida. What do you think about that? And I straight up told them, I said, I'm going to live in New York the rest of my life and do Broadway. So I don't care what you do. And so so my dad moved in December and then they bought the house. And as soon as classes ended in March, my sister got married and then we moved to Florida. And so it was my parents, my grandma, my brother, and me.
oh wow.
And so now I'm in Florida and my arthritis, they had tried throughout the time I was at online at AMDA. They were trying meds that go with inflammatory arthritis,
Mhm.
metoprolol. I mean, oh shoot, anyway? Yeah, all of them, all of them that go with it, and methotrexate. That's what I was thinking of,
Okay.
which is a heart. hard on the body drug, but it didn't help at all. And usually that helps arthritis a lot, and it didn't. And so they were like, so they tried, one or so other, because you have to try a med for so long before they know it's not going to work.
Yeah.
And so when I moved to Florida, my mom found Camp Electric, which is a camp for creatives, and it's run by Toby Mac in Nashville.
Hmm.
And so I think Toby Mac's like the owner. Like, I don't know that he actually goes every year. I never saw him, but but my mom was like, you've had such a hard year with arthritis and everything medical. I think that you should go to Camp Electric because you found songwriting and love that a lot. And that was in the summer of 2021, and they at AMDA they were like, if you need a semester, we do medical leave. And so I was like, okay. So I took a medical leave, and then Camp Electric. And so I went to Camp Electric, and I was like, you know what? You might as well, why not? And so
Yeah.
I went to Camp Electric, and I found out there that people songwrite like for a living, and people, you know what I mean? Like nobody's can become somebody with releasing music. And now with it being so open, you don't even have to become, chart topping. You can just release music. And I was like, this is crazy. We were huge in music, but nothing really songwriting growing up. And so I learned that in when I was, yeah, so that I would have been 18 still, and at Camp Electric. And so then I was like, you know what? If I'm not going back on Broadway right this second, then maybe songwriting is something I want to explore while I'm down for the count, And in that
Yeah.
meantime, it went downhill super quickly with my legs, and it was
Mm.
like I was able to do dance classes. They were about 2 hour long dance classes. I think 3 days a week, maybe, or something like that. 4 days. I don't really remember, but anyway, the point was I danced, and then
Yeah.
um, it kept getting harder and harder to dance that long. And I eventually ended up in a wheelchair for even the grocery store by the end of the summer 2021. And that was really hard because I was super active, and with soccer, and I played
Yeah, the
golf, and I
soccer
played
player.
basketball for a year. Yeah. And with dancing. And so every like my whole, like I had said, sports was kind of like my who I was. My like ability to do like sports and athletics was part of who I was, and like getting
Mhm.
that stripped away. And especially with the dream of going to New York and doing all this dancing and standing, and I was like,
Mhm.
why did you get me into a 20% acceptance rate school just to take me out? Like that makes no sense. And
Yeah.
so in this summer of 2021, and in the fall, I remember, like, I call it argue with God. I remember, like, just coming to him and like, this makes no sense. Like, why does this make no sense?
Yeah.
And so in the spring, is March the spring of 2022, I wrote what would be my first release, I Say Amen.
Mm.
And so that is what sprung me to where I am now, and is when I heard I Say Amen. When we finished it, I wrote it with James Stevens, who's absolutely incredible on Zoom. And when I heard the final that he got put together, I was like, I have to sing this. And some of the words are like, if prayer is a weapon, I wield it now for peace. And I remember thinking, like, all throughout my life, like, my body was my weapon. It could do anything. I could do anything that I wanted to, and like run a mile, run 5 miles, whatever I wanted to do, I could do it. And so the fact is, like, even when the thing that you think is most important gets stripped from you, prayer is still a weapon. And so I was like, I have to sing this and I'm going to do whatever I can. And now we're on to my seventh release, June 20th.
Awesome. Awesome. So, in between the time of spring of 21, did you say 21 or 22 that you released I Say Amen?
I wrote I Say Amen in, yep, spring of 2022.
2022. So
Yes,
we're now 3 years apart from that. Did you ever go back to AMDA?
I did not.
No.
No. And in 2022, my legs were still just as bad. And so they thought maybe the doctors thought that maybe it was the biologic that I was on for my Crohn's disease that was causing, because it can cause joint pain. And so they were like, maybe if we switch that up. And so I switched Crohn's meds. And then my Crohn's disease went into a flare. So back into active like it was in 2020.
Mhm.
And that, and so that, not only were my legs bad then my stomach pain and everything that goes with an autoimmune,
Mhm.
um I was like down for the count, and there was no way I would be able to do 11 classes. And so um I just song wrote, if you will, um whenever I could. And now I think if my body does ever get back to 100%, I still don't think I'll go back to Broadway. I think songwriting is where I'm called, and artistry, and doing music for the Lord. Although that would be kind of cool, like you know. But
Yeah.
but definitely, I think right now I'm really going for the songwriting and releasing the music to impact people's faith and life.
That's really cool. That's really cool. So you and I actually have some things in common as far as health goes. I've been knocked down with health a few times before, with autoimmune and all of that stuff. What did you do to get yourself through that? You talked about having little temper tantrums and yelling at God a little bit. Talk through that. I don't want to just brush over that because I think people get a misguided impression that we're not allowed to be mad at God, that we're not allowed to wrestle with these things and these tribulations, or that we shouldn't even have them to begin with as Christians. So talk me through your process and what got you through.
Yeah, definitely. Um, so a huge thing that got me through is my family. I would not be where I am if it weren't for my family. They My mom got in a bad car accident when she was 18, and I mean she should have died, and she
Mm.
didn't. And so on my hardest days, having her by me and being like, you know, you're still like doing good, like you don't have to worry about not doing anything today. Like that's not where your worth comes from,
Yeah.
and having my whole family there and telling me that, I think was a huge thing to make me not dig in the dumps. And another thing, and then I'll get to how God did too, was I'm a very passionate person. And so when I grabbed a hold of songwriting, it was like I had a passion for something new, and I could put my emotion towards something. And so and that was a positive emotion. I think what do you say? Passion is an emotion. And okay. And so I put a lot of my emotion in my passion, which is like a really positive energy outlet. And so I
Mhm.
think that also helped me through. And then having God really, really set it up for me, um, to give me just like little boosts of hope throughout the whole journey. And in instance, Camp Electric, I went and it was like a huge hope injection of like songwriting is fun and can be fun, and people will encourage you to do it that are pros, and
Mhm.
even if it comes of nothing, there's still a reason to do it.
Right.
And so just little especially songwriting hope things was throughout my journey, and that those little hope I held on to until the next one God gave me. And and also I think the fact that God there was still a peace that I had when I would sit down and talk to God. You know, sometimes not, but there was when I would sit and you know what I mean, like, what are you doing? Like, I just felt like a peace. And again, not all the time, but just to know, I think the peace was there to know that God was still there with me. And it was almost like a we'll get through this like feeling
Mhm.
together.
That's awesome. That's awesome. How old were you when you came to Christ? Was this something that, you just you grew up in it, so one day you're like, yeah, that makes sense, and you can't even pinpoint it, or can you look back and say, no, I was here and I was this age and this happened.
Sort of. My family, yep, always took us to church every Sunday, and they're um strong believers. And when I was 9, I got baptized, and
Mm.
so I was sure pretty early on that Jesus was real and a thing, and um is helpful. And I remember getting I remember like learning about Jesus, and there was not really a specific moment, but I do remember one evening I went out to my parents and I was like, I'm just wondering, like, why have I not got baptized yet? And they were like, I don't know. you know and and just like little Isabel, 9 years old. And um, when I was younger, though, I was certain that Jesus was real, and my church family used to call me a little evangelist because I would bring like 10 kids to VBS with me every year, and always bring my friends from Saturday night sleepovers to Sunday morning, and they'd come to little kid church, and so yeah, he definitely. I think that my bond with him has definitely grown over the years. And it's but I would say, yeah, that's been my whole journey. Like, my whole life is been a journey with him.
I think most people would say their whole life has been a journey.
Yeah.
It's funny the things just the things that you go through. Some people can be, what, you're 24, 25, somewhere in that
I'm
range.
22.
22. Oh my gosh, my math was way off. Wow. Okay. So some people can be, a mature 22, which I think you fall in that category. Um, you're welcome. Just because, you've gone through some stuff, you've had some of those life experiences, whereas other people are just, they reach 22 and they're like, oh my gosh, has been so easy and I must just have it all figured out. And they know nothing. And it's interesting. Like I work with teenagers, so I know a mixture of both, but it's interesting to talk with someone who is so young but has seen some stuff, right? So, you've already been through some of those fires that life will put you through, and your faith has already been tested a time or two. And so at 22 years old, you're like, yeah, bring it. I love that.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. You're welcome. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Old,
Most people think
brain
that
fog.
I'm older. I
Yeah.
usually get that with new people. I always like to test, how, when they say, "How old are you?" and I'm like, "Guess." One time I got 30. I was like,
I was doing math. You were talking about like 2019, and that's 6 years ago. So I'm like, oh, okay. So I was thinking you were just older, and I just wasn't picking up on the math cues. That's all. Oh my goodness. So what are the plans now? What are you doing moving forward? Just focusing on the songwriting and working on getting your stuff out there? How are you doing that?
yeah, yeah. I'm dog sitting,
Okay.
and I love that, and that gives me a lot of time to songwrite. And the last since 2022, like seriously been songwriting, I would say. And so a lot of my time, my goals in 2022 and 2023 were to co-write like all the time, and I did. I co-wrote a ton, and in the beginning of 2024, I thought that co-writing was still what I was supposed to be learning and doing, and in into 2024 in the summer, I think I had 137 co-writes by June. And
Wow.
at that point, I was like, I've been co writing all these songs, and now I have a bunch of songs that I want to get out there, but I'm just like, just continuing to co write and not getting songs out there as fast or as much as I'd like to. And so in the middle of 2024, I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to do a goal change and start focusing more on getting songs out there and what do I need to do to get songs produced and that sort of stuff.
Hmm.
And so 2025 I have taken as time to do social media. And so in April I started posting on TikTok every day, and I'm still posting every day, and there is some growth. It's in 2 months 50 followers, so I mean it's something.
It is.
And uh it it's been really fun on TikTok as well, learning who I am. And be on TikTok, you do some trends, some music, some of your music, all a handful, and it's really been teaching me what does Isabel Maggie stand for, and what do I
Mhm.
want to convey, especially in my music too, and what kind of genres I want to write. Because like I said, in 20 up until 2024, was really focusing on just writing. And so now I'm like, well, I really like the pop feel songs, and so I think I want to go poppier. And so now, yeah, I'm really finding who I am and releasing more.
That's great. That's great. I was going to ask, you got the genre in there. So, who are some of the artists that you try to emulate or look up to?
Ooh, that's a good question. I love Colton Dixon's drive in his
Mm.
songs, and it's sort of like the pop rock to his music. I really like that.
Mhm.
Um, let's see. Toby Mac obviously is always so good. Especially like Ain't Nothing Sweeter. Was I love that one.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. I would say I'm starting to find more Christian pop people, because a lot of my pop influence was secular pop. And yeah, I mean that's fine. Yeah,
We're
but
allowed to pull from wherever we pull from. God puts some inspiration out there wherever. So, yeah, if you have secular artists that you like their sound, you want to kind of go in that direction. It's not necessarily saying, you want to write music exactly like them. It's just saying, no,
right.
I dig this sound. This is someone that I appreciate. So, and as a Christian artist, we are allowed to appreciate secular artists.
Yes, yeah, I love that.
So it's okay. Yeah. So who are some of the secular artists?
Oh, that's a good one. um,
Yeah, put you totally on the spot.
well, I should know. I I really like One Republic's vibe. They're like
Mhm.
the I don't worry about it right now. Like that is like total summer bop.
Yes.
I like that one a lot.
I love that you brought them up. They're actually one of my favorite bands too.
Yes. We
Yeah.
know they have to be good because my husband and I don't have the same music taste most of the time, and we can agree that they're a rockin' band. So
My husband and me too. Yeah. Very much
yeah, must
so.
be a thing.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So there's our pivot point right there. I don't know if I knew you had gotten married. How long have you been married? At 22?
I know it. I've been married a long time for 22. I've been married 2 years.
My word.
Yep.
You were a baby.
I know it.
Well,
I was a
that's what you were doing in those 3 years.
been married. Yeah, for real.
You forgot to
I
mention that little thing.
did.
Oh my gosh. So I mean, that's a whole conversation in and of itself. As someone who also got married young, I was your age when I got married. So you got me beat by a couple years. But I know the questions, the looks, the uh-huh, yeah, right, type of things. Walk me through that whole process. How long had you known each other before you got married?
Yeah. We knew each other. We met when I was 14,
Hmm.
and he was best friends with my would-be brother-in-law.
Oh,
And so him, my brother-in-law, and my sister were like the three musketeers most of the time, and they hung out and did like everything together. Starting in 2017, I think. Yep, yeah, that's when my sister and brother-in-law got together, and so they were hanging out a ton, and I am a bit younger than them, and so I was like in a different chapter, and so I never like did too much with them, but I did hang out with them, but I would say most of that time Colton and I were acquaintances more than friends. And but like he would just be at my house like hanging out,
yeah.
and with the two of them, and sometimes we'd have like water balloon fights and whatever, and then what really changed things was I was the maid of honor and he was the best man at their wedding.
Mm, okay.
Yep.
I can see it. I can see it. I'm getting the picture in my brain. Yeah. He finally saw you as someone other than the kid sister type of thing.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, and I then we were in more similar points of life, and he I remember I so what happened at the wedding was that was when my arthritis was really starting. And
Mm.
so my sister and my family was like, we can get you a stool that you can sit on, like, and you can still be up there and still be like part of everything. Just sit on the stool every once in a while. And I was like, no, there is no chance I'm sitting at my sister's wedding. Like that's embarrassing. That's a no, And so they were like, well, I'm not sure that you're gonna, you know, um,
You're
make
gonna
it
be up
that
to it.
long, and
Yeah.
and so I joked at the rehearsal dinner that when we walked out, my Braden and Olivia, my brother-in-law and sister, they couldn't do the just married style, and I'm a big jokester. I love a good joke, and so I joked with Colton, who I would say we're still like we're friendly now, and I was like, it'd be hilarious. We're like friends is if you picked me up in that style since they can't, and he laughed it off or whatever, and then it happened, and I was like, and then the wedding happened, and at the end I was like, uh you know you could help. I don't have to walk down the aisle wearing these heels then, so pick me up it right in the moment. And he was like, okay, and he picked me up and walked me down the aisle, and then in the picture he smiled, and he's like obviously holding me, and he smiled at me. And so I called up my sister. We just moved to Florida, and I was like, They, did you see the way he smiled at me? Like, we could be a thing. And my sister was like, and I was like, just ask him, ask him. And she was like, all right. And then yeah, we started hanging out.
So how old were you guys then when you first started dating?
I was 18, I think, and he was 21. I think.
Okay.
I think that math's right.
It was so long ago.
Right. My sister also got married. She was 20.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Okay.
But yeah, and then her birthday was the next day. Yep. So
Well, that worked out nicely because nope, my math is wrong again. I was remembering I was thinking 21 you wouldn't have a problem renting a car, but that's 25. So no, that was a problem.
but you can still rent a car at 21. You just have a lot more fees. I don't know if you
Yeah,
knew that.
yeah,
Yeah.
they put more insurance on you basically.
Yeah, pretty much. They're
Yep.
like, there's a 20, percent chance that you'll crash it more, so we're gonna really charge you.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, my husband and I, when we got married in October. He was 24. He was turning 25 in December, all of 2 months. And
No.
yeah. We got hit with a bunch more fees because of that when we went on our honeymoon. We're like, okay, nobody told us about this, but whatever.
Nobody does it. I love
No, nobody said a word.
it.
So do you guys live around your parents now, or where did you guys land?
Yeah. So the three of them moved to Florida um because they were living together for cheaper rent. And
Yes.
now the four of us live together. Just uh like 10 minutes from my parents' house and in an apartment.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you live with your sister and your brother-in-law.
Yep.
Oh, that's kind of cool. Oh,
Yeah.
I like that. I like that. That's a great idea. Because it is not cheap out there.
No, it's not. Holy moly.
Especially living on a songwriter's pay. Hopefully your husband does something a little bit more stable.
He's not a songwriter.
He's not a
Yes.
songwriter. Okay, that's good. My goodness. Oh man. So that's funny. That's really funny that, like I said, our paths, our lives are kind of paralleling in a few different ways. That's really interesting. So when did you like we met on Red's Room? A lot of my guests are Red's Room acquaintances. When did you get started doing the online stuff? And how did you get involved in Red's Room?
Yeah, I would say since since releasing the first song, I Say Amen, in March of 2023, I have posted way more on social media. And I think, yeah, I'm pretty sure Red um actually friended me on Facebook in September of 2023, I think. And then he had me on in October of 2023. And that's how it all, yep, that, and since then, I think I was on October, November, December, because of some cancellation for one of them. And then in 2024, I did it quite a bit more. And then 2025, I've done it a couple times now too.
Good deal. Good deal. So do you play out it live or just strictly the social media so far?
Mostly social media, but I have performed. I have done uh, probably a handful of performances at churches.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you on like your worship team full time, that kind of a thing?
Yes, we have a kind of a larger worship team, so I'm on once a month singing.
Okay.
Yep.
Just singing, not playing?
Oh yeah. Oh, I do play. I play not. It's not like a set amount that I've played the acoustic guitar, but I used to play on the youth worship team acoustic guitar a lot more. I guess I got busy and yeah.
I just got busy. That's funny. Oh my goodness. So, so where do you go from here?
Well, I'm yeah. That's a great question. And I have gotten on a few more interviews like this and that sort of fun thing. So that's been really fun sharing my story. I think um and I have the Blossom in the Desert, which is releasing June 20th, that I'm super excited about. And that one, and then I have a Christmas one coming out, and hopefully one in between there. But we'll see if I can do that.
Wow. And how are you, do you have a producer, a set producer that you're working with, or are you doing the online collaboration? How are you getting your songs produced?
Yeah, I work with a couple of producers, and I we met on an online songwriting community. Both I Josh Gittens is who produced this Blossom in the Desert. And he's a great friend. He actually co-released a song with me, Through It All, on his album in 2023. So we've been buddies for a while, song co-writers, and yeah, he and then Cedric Israel produced We Carry the Kingdom, and we also co-write. And so any yeah, those are the two I've used most recently, and love working with both of them. They're great.
Hmm. That's awesome. That's awesome. So, I just yeah, I just keep thinking, you've been able to do so much. Like, talk to me about, I think having goals, setting goals, 5-year goals, 10-year goals, those kind of things. Talk to me about some of your goals. Where do you see yourself in 5 or 10 years? Where do you think God's taking this?
I hope he's taking this to a touring artist at some point. That would be like the dream gig. And I have quite a few songs up my sleeve that I'm so excited for. Even Blossom and the Christmas one, and I've been writing a yeah. There's since I've been writing so much, I have quite a few songs that I'm super stoked about, and I think getting those out and getting more exposure on TikTok, I think is a start to the tour goal.
Okay.
Yeah.
What would you say, in case we do end up getting some younger demographics watching this. I'm old, so I'm getting the Gen X people. So, but just say we did get some Gen Z watching. What advice would you give them just starting out? Because it's hard to break into this music world.
Oh, that's a great question. I think a really big thing is I think whether or not it becomes something big or not, I think no matter your reach, you will, if songwriting is important to you, you will reach somebody that it mattered to, even if it's with my reach. I don't i don't have a ton of followers and stuff yet, but I have had people message me and things and say, your song really helped me through this really hard time. And I think so much when you just start in this, so much of it is like, you got to get a million followers on TikTok and a million streams on Spotify, and you got to do all of this. But I think some of the not I don't think everybody's meant to uh be Brandon Lake, and and I think that no matter what your impact is, it's still an impact, and that matters.
That's a great word right there. No matter what your impact is. Um, God, I'm a firm believer that, each and every one of us, the Bible says that we were known by God before we were born, as we were being knit together. He knew us before our form was even made, and He had all of the days of our lives pre-planned. He knew what purpose He had for us. So talk about, you managed to find this fairly young, but talk about your experience in finding God's purpose for your life and what that's meant and been for your experience.
Yeah, I think a lot. I think that God can move in a lot of purposes in your life, and I think too sometimes I think God has us do different things at different times. And so some people, their one purpose was to preach, the gospel. And I think and some people he gives, a purpose every year or and maybe not every year, but I think
Can definitely change.
right. Yeah, and I think too I think you can have multiple purposes
Mhm.
uh at the same time too. I think because yeah, I think he has you where you are, and I would say my purpose is songwriting, but I think there's also been a few other things that I've done that uh I was there to glorify God, I think. And yeah, and then yeah, I think you a lot of people are like, what's the main purpose of my life? And I think some people just have a million purposes, and God wants that for them. And I think yeah, I don't know if that makes sense.
It does. It does. As somebody who's had multiple purposes, or you think like from my personal experience, I know when I was first given the vision of, singing, using my voice for God, getting into some sort of music for Him, um, I thought that was like the thing that I had to be working towards. And I wasn't 100% wrong, but I was missing that, oh, by the way, you have, these three other small, children to take care of, and that's a purpose too.
Children, I love it. Yes, I agree completely.
So yeah, so they were kind of a coinciding type thing, and they've evolved and changed and grown in different directions. And now my kids, you are the age of a couple of my kids. um so my kids are not so much my main primary focus now, but my purpose has shifted from what I thought it was going to be to, oh no, God's showing me this. And that doesn't mean that it'll never be what I thought it was going to be 10, 15, 20 years ago. It just means that, okay, I'm doing this right now, though. And I think that
Yeah,
that's an important thing to recognize that wherever you are in that process, wherever you are, is where God put you and where God intended for you to be, and nothing surprises Him. So you're not there by accident. So look for the ways in which you need to serve and learn and grow from Him in that purpose, or in that time, in that place where you are.
yeah, I completely agree.
So those days where, when you were needing to use a wheelchair to go to the grocery store, I think a lot of people would look at that and say, "Oh my gosh, that's so unfair. That's so, I that would throw a lot of people into a depression."
Yeah.
Did you have to battle any of that, or did God give you that spirit of resilience and this, sunshine personality through the whole thing?
I think maybe the sunshine personality and God, yeah, really blessed me. I think, Yeah, but if it weren't for a supportive family, I can guarantee I would have been a lot sadder, more pity party. um, but yeah.
It's so funny. It's like, oh yeah, that just happened. It's fine. That could, you might be surprised. That could be, if you let it, if God puts that on your brain, that actually could be an outreach ministry in and of itself. Like, hey, I've been to the point where I have been debilitated by this disease, but look at how God's gotten me through it. I'm a firm believer in God allows things to happen to us for the reason that we're going to be strong enough to get through it and then be able to help others who need that help as well.
Yeah,
So
and
what
I
do
think
you,
too, right now even I'm still using the wheelchair, some. I'm this year and the end of last year was the start of finally starting to see some change in the arthritis.
oh
Um
wow.
and yes, yeah, so it's been in October of 2024, it had been 4 years with
Mm,
Crohn's disease, and so still now, yeah, I think that it was God's miracle and the Crohn's disease medication working together with God. um, and I've seen some improvement. So now I'm at the stage of figuring out, can I go to the grocery store and not cry the next day? If
mm,
so, then can I go to, a bigger store and not cry the next day? And sometimes it's like one day it's like I will be okay and one day I won't. So then it's like, where's the line drawn? So right now I'm in a big season of like, what can I do? um
yeah.
and what do I can I get better, and am I still on the incline, or am I plateauing? So that's been, yeah, and I think that is a strong, I think, testimony as well, in the fact of I'm still pursuing what I think God wants me to do, even though He could heal me at any second, and He hasn't fully healed me.
Yeah. I think I was just talking in my last interview, actually. It's funny you bring that up. I was just talking about the fact that, yes, God is capable of doing anything he wants, but is it his will?
Yeah,
And we have to accept that maybe that answer is no, it's not in his will to heal. Um, Maybe it's his will to allow that season of tribulation, to allow that season of debilitation, just so you learn something, you grow spiritually, you have a chance to step back from, you know, being quite so busy so that you can spend more time on the songwriting, on, just learning more about him, growing your relationship with him. I found a lot of times that, the answer was no, not yet, because I had to do some things. I had to learn some things. Um, I had to quit throwing a temper tantrum. You know? Just a personal experience. But yeah, it's again, it's one of those, I think, misunderstandings about Christianity, that everything's supposed to be all sunshine and lollipops once we accept Christ, when the Bible tells us no, absolutely not. You will have sorrow, you will have trouble, you will have tribulations, you will, walk through that proverbial fire like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. If not the actual fire, you never know. You know, this world is going to throw everything it's got at us because it is a fallen world. And just learning to have that trust in God, which, you're learning at such a young age, just to say, you know what? God's got this. That's huge. Do you
thank you.
recognize how big that is? People go their entire lives without learning that lesson.
Oh yeah. Yeah, maybe yeah, don't. I think too, I've learned that I think there's a big difference in like, uh, yeah, like you said, like knowing God can do it
Mhm.
and trusting him because it's almost like anything truly could happen to you, but what
Yep.
is going to happen to you? I think my like safety net with God is like that God's my safety net because he's only going to let happen what's supposed to happen, and there's a trust in that because that's what's supposed to happen, like that
Yep.
it is for a reason, and that maybe you won't know for 100 years, but but yeah,
You may never know this side of heaven. Yeah,
right.
exactly. Exactly. And it may be, yeah, again, I was just talking about this in my last interview. Beth Moore had a study on Daniel. I don't know if you know who Beth Moore is.
I don't.
She does, I haven't done anything by her in a while, but she does some amazing Bible studies.
I'll have to check her out.
Yeah, her studies on Daniel and Esther, I learned so much from.
Okay.
Those in particular for me anyway. But her study on Daniel, she had a teaching that just really changed my perspective on trials and tribulations, and that we only have three possible outcomes when we face trials in this life. And one is that God will deliver us from them. We won't have to go through them at all. God will deliver us through them. We'll go through them, but we'll come out stronger on the other side, more refined, that refiner's fire. Or he will deliver us by them, in that it'll kill us, but we're going to end up in heaven. So that's not really a bad thing either. So if you look at it,
Wow.
yeah, exactly. If you look at everything in your life as in those three different parameters, okay, box one, two, or three, neither one of those is a bad option. Two's going to suck a little while, but on the other side, it's going to be okay. you know, and if you just are able to keep that perspective in and trust God through the process, I found it helps a lot in anything that you're going through. So,
Yeah.
and usually it's box number two. You got to go through it.
Yep.
He's gonna get you through it.
Yes.
But just like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, he's going to be right there in the fire with us.
Right.
Never abandons us. So, like, when you've got these flare-ups and you're really limited on your mobility, like I said, I've got autoimmune too. I've got Ehlers-Danlos,
Okay.
hypermobility, which
Yeah.
it's just like any other autoimmune. You got your good days, you got your bad days, and you really can't control it.
Yeah.
Some days I can go walk 2 miles and be perfectly fine the next day. Some days I stand out in the kitchen and wash the dishes and I'm down for a week.
Yeah.
And there's just no rhyme or reason to it. But through those, if I look at it through those parameters of, okay, yeah, I'm obviously going through this. God could heal me at any given time. He's chosen not to. It's not his will. I'm supposed to go through this. So how am I being refined through this? What
Yeah.
what is the purpose? And you always got to keep your eye on that. And not For me, it's too easy to get caught up in the really why God why, and he's really not in the habit of answering those questions like that.
In the habit of I love it.
He would much rather show you along the way and have you look back and go, oh, that. He doesn't give us
Yes.
flashing neon signs very often.
Yes. And that totally well, I used to tell people a lot more than I do now that when I was in New York City, the only way that God was going to convince me to leave was to take me out, like literally. Yeah, and I because I was so passionate about Broadway that I wouldn't have listened to anything that he was trying to tell me, because and
So
and
he just
because
basically went, bet.
exactly.
Let
And
me throw some COVID at you. Oh my goodness. Yeah, never dared God to do anything. That's dangerous ground.
Never. That the never word. Yes, that God loves that. When you say, "Oh, I'll never do this," He's like,
Yeah.
"You betcha, you'll be doing
Uh-huh.
that."
Yeah. Joe Neal and I came up with God doesn't say hold my beer. God said hold my wine because he makes water into wine. So I was just like, hold my wine. Sure, never. Uh-huh. Right.
Never. Love it. God's sense of humor we were talking about just a little bit earlier.
Yep.
Seriously, I mean,
That's the
he's the
sense of
funniest.
humor. Yes, that's the sense of humor that spoke through a donkey and told someone off.
Literally.
Yes.
Yes, I saw a post and it said something about, I wish the Bible had more action. And I was like, have you read the Bible? No, because
The scene where Jesus literally walks out of the temple to make a whip before he goes back in. That's
oh,
that's some, I mean, that right there. Indiana Jones, he didn't make his own whip. I mean, come on.
I love it.
Jesus made his own whip before he went back in. I didn't catch that. The first few times I read it, I didn't catch that he went out and made his own whip. But
I didn't either, actually.
yeah, yeah, he made it before he went back in and chased out the money changers. Talk about a hold my wine moment.
Moment. Love it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I've said for the longest time, you want to hear God laugh, tell him your plans.
That's a good one. I love that. That's funny. I love it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, there have been so many times when I've just been like, oh yeah, I get it. God, you're gonna do this and you're gonna make that happen through this, and that's gonna do this. And I had the whole thing planned out, and he's just like, no. All of that, I'm not doing any of that. Would you just settle down and trust me? And
Really.
no, I didn't want to do that either.
Just settle down.
Because then I got mad that he didn't do it my way.
Yes, I have a problem with that too.
Oh, so it's not all sunshine. Uh-huh.
It is definitely not all sunshine. I may have on Red Room just the other day. Somebody told me that like, how could somebody be in a bad mood around me? And I'm like,
That's my husband.
how could they?
Whenever whenever there's a husband, just ask my husband.
And like sometimes I'll sit down and it's like having a terrible day, and I'll just sit and I'm like, dear Lord, that's all I got today. What do you got for me? Because because today it's that day, you know?
Yep. I've had
Yep.
those days. But the Bible also speaks to that. It tells us that the Holy Spirit is a prayer intercessor for us when we don't know what to pray for. So, yeah, I have had plenty of days where I'm just like, all right, Spirit, you got to take this one because I got nothing. God, fill in the blanks.
Yes. And it's
And
incredible what happens in that moment. I think
yes,
the days that you have nothing, it's like, wow, okay, this, and sometimes it's nothing like in that moment, but then later you're like, whoa, you know.
yep, yep. God will let us have our little pity parties, let us have our little tantrums, and then he'll help us up and dust us off and say, "Okay, ready to get back to work?" What'd you
Yes,
learn? What'd you learn? Did you learn it this time? Okay, well, maybe we got to do that one again someday.
someday.
But for now, we'll let you get by. We'll let you get past that one. Again, the flashing neon lights, neon signs, he almost never gives those.
No. Yes. That was very Michigander of me. No, yes. Midwest, is Connecticut Midwestern?
No, no, Connecticut is New England, Northeast.
New England. But
Yeah.
Ohio is Midwest.
Ohio is. There you go. There you go.
So
And
so
all of
are you a Midwestern at heart?
I would say so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I grew up in northeastern Ohio, but all of my extended family from both sides of my family are northern Michigan. So
Really?
yeah. So
Like
like
UP or just
no,
in
not
the
UP.
mid?
Not UP, like North Central.
Gotcha. Yeah, yeah.
If what really Traverse City's not far from where my family is.
That's right. I remember talking on Red's Room now, in December when I said we're from the middle of Michigan, and you were like, "Oh, I lived at this part," and it was super close.
Okay. Yeah, 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 yeah. What part of the hand are you?
Right, like pretty much in the center. Have you
Yep.
heard of Big Rapids?
Oh, yes, that's exactly what it was. Yeah,
Yeah, right in
that
between
is
Big Rapids and Mount Pleasant.
yeah. You know of a little town called Everett.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, my dad's side of the family is from Everett. My mom's side is from Ashton. Also
Okay.
also known as the town that time forgot. You can drive through Ashton and not be aware that you drove through a town. My aunt still lives there. I love you, Aunt Becky, but your town sucks.
Oh.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, they did what was it? Highway 131 went right through it. And so there was the old 131 and then the new 131, and the highway was 131. So there's still an exit for Ashton. But because the highway just
Oh.
kind of goes through, the old road was a two-lane road, and you got all the countryside and all the little shops and everything. In the highway, you don't really, you don't get any of that. So Ashton just kind of stopped and never really grew, never changed. It's crazy. It is a tiny, tiny, tiny little town.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Everett's what, 15 miles across 10, and it's fine.
Fine.
It's also a tiny town in consider, in perspective, but it's a bigger tiny town.
A bigger tiny town.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, I had forgotten that we were from the same area. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I lived the first 3 years, 4 years, three and I guess I was about four when we moved. Um, the first 4 years of my life in Chippewa Lake.
Wow.
Yep.
That's wild.
And
That-
anyone who is not from Northern Michigan is just like they're bored to tears at this point. They're like, what the heck?
That's true though.
But
Anyone know? Yeah.
it is funny because, my family moved to Northeast Ohio because my dad was a truck driver, and he had been doing a lot of runs out east. He drove out of Detroit. He was a car hauler. So he would have to go down to Detroit, and then he drove out east. So my parents kind of looked at the map because he wasn't home very much. They looked at the map and said, "Okay, what's between Detroit and New York?" And they kind of went here and found an itty bitty little town in Northeast Ohio called Bristolville. And so we moved to Bristolville, thinking that that would get my dad home more often. And so, I'm growing up in Ohio. My brother is going to Ohio State. When he went to college, he was there for undergrad and graduate work. He's a dentist, so he was there for 9 years. So my family we're pretty much Ohio. And because my parents sent so much money to Ohio State, they're Buckeyes fans, as is my brother. So now all the rest of my family is, uh-huh, yeah, Michigan. Go Blue. Ann Arbor, you die for the Wolverines. And yeah, that makes for some interesting football seasons.
Yeah, that would be a no to the Buckeyes. Yeah. You gotta go.
OHIO. Sorry.
You were like, nobody else is gonna finish it, so I will.
Anybody else? Unless you're in Columbus, Ohio. Nobody else is finishing that.
Yeah, we grew up Spartan fans, so
Okay.
but we'll say when U of M went against Ohio State, still U of M because no need for Ohio State.
No, no. If you look at the record, though, it speaks for itself.
I don't look at the record.
I don't care. I only do it just to mess with Michigan fans.
Is anyone from Michigan will die on that hill probably.
They will. They will. They will. I will say though, living in Columbus for 10 plus years, right, outside of the campus, that is a big deal around there. And my husband used to work for the state when we were there. So we would pay attention to the football games over the weekend just so that he would know what kind of mood everyone would be in on Monday morning. Did the Bucks win? Did the Bucks lose? How's the office going to be in the morning? And it
That's
was,
awesome.
oh, it was true. If they lost, he's like, you just go away, you don't talk to anyone because nobody is happy.
You go away. I love it.
I used to joke that I wanted to go to a home game, an OSU home game where Michigan was there, sit in the OSU student section and root for Michigan just to bug people. I was told that that was a death wish. Don't do that.
Oh,
So, I never really did. That and I could never afford the tickets because we were poor when we lived in Ohio. But I mean, literally, I don't say that lightly. We got married in 1998, moved to Columbus, had our first baby in 2001, right after we bought our house because we were having said baby. Um, and then had two more 2.5 years later. We were broke. We had zero money.
a 2001 baby. I'm an '02 baby.
Yeah, that's why I thought you were older. Because my oh 01 baby was born in January of oh 01. And
Okay.
yeah, so they're already 24. So that's why I thought you were older.
Yes, I'm an October baby.
Yep, yep. So, and then my oh 03 babies are June.
Are
So,
they twins?
yeah,
Oh, how is that? Wow.
well, that's why we're broke. We were. We've gotten better. We've gotten better over the years. But yeah, that first year, that was just survival. I had three under three, all of them in diapers. I was in survival mode. I don't
Wow.
remember much about that year, but it was good. It was good. I wouldn't trade it. I wouldn't trade it. They're all three vastly different personalities. They're just wonderful human beings, and I've been so honored and blessed to be part of their lives.
Aw, that's so cool.
It's the mama's creed, you know? Like, yeah, you were a pain in the neck, but I love you anyway. So yeah, having three teenage daughters in the house was interesting. Um, those years were fun. And then one of them changed their mind, so now now we have two daughters and another. They're this is something that a lot of Christians don't. That's a touchy topic, but yeah, my oldest is trans. They've given me permission to talk about their journey and just our journey together. But yeah, that it's a touchy topic for a lot of people. So yeah, they're my kid. I love them. God created them on purpose. Like I said before, this is not a surprise on who they are to him. So why should I let that affect my relationship with him, right?
Yeah.
Not to say there wasn't some temper tantrums on my part.
Oh my God.
There were some fights that it wasn't all easy, but we're at a good place now, fortunately. But yeah, so you're right around the age of my kids. It's crazy.
Yeah.
None of my kids are married yet.
No.
No. No, my oldest Ray is getting married this year. Their fiance Savannah is a sweet, sweet girl. So I love them to death. They're gonna have some struggles, but that's I think they made a good choice. So and the other two, they're just kind of figuring stuff out. So
Yeah, figuring life out.
yeah, one of the twins, Chrissy, is working full time and thinking about moving back home for a couple years to save up for flight school. Um,
Oh
and
wow, that's so cool.
yeah, yeah. She's wanted to be a pilot and a photographer for a long time. So she's got some amazing photos. She doesn't quite know how to market herself yet, but eventually. And then, the pilot thing to just go to take more pictures, basically. And then her twin is home and in school to be a herpetologist.
Whoa.
Yeah,
What's that?
that is a reptile scientist.
Really? That is very intriguing.
So she and Ray, who is the oldest, got lizards, oh gosh, 7 years ago for Christmas. Uh,
Wow.
Lily got a crested gecko and Ray got a bearded dragon. And Lily just absolutely fell in love with lizards, started looking up all this information about them. She can tell you all about New Caledonian lizards, which is the crested gecko, and some of the other geckos, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, and she just got totally hooked on them and realized, hey, I'm really interested in learning more about them, handling them, taking care of them, even teaching kids about them. So yeah, she's gonna go all the way. She's planning on doing the PhD route and
Wow.
yeah, yeah, she'll probably be I don't know, some kind of director at a zoo at some point.
That's exciting.
Yeah, yeah. So they're all on different paths, but yeah, like I said, no one's married, no grandkids in the near future, nothing like that, but it's a fun journey.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, when I was your age, I was just starting it out. Oh my goodness. Well, you know, Isabel, these conversations sometimes go longer, sometimes run shorter, but I feel like we're kind of at a natural close.
Yeah,
But
okay.
I'd love to do this again. Maybe introduce some of your music. I've up to this point, these have just been conversational interviews.
Okay.
But, I think maybe at some point we would want to do some like maybe something along the lines of an expanded Red Room type thing where we have some more time other than just a couple minutes in between
Yeah.
songs. Set something like that up. So I'm just kind of having this idea as we speak. So
Yeah, that's so fun. I'd love to do this again.
awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you again for joining us, for giving us your time. And yeah, this has been wonderful.
Thank you. Yes, it's been wonderful for me too. Thank you for
All right.
having me.
Thank you. Okay. As always, thank you for joining us. I hope you enjoyed this episode and you'll join us for our next. Take it away, Elizabeth.